In Part 2 of the directives, we examine the pastoral and spiritual responsibility of Catholic healthcare. This part of the directives focuses especially on the provision of spiritual care to patients. As with each section of this module, we begin with a short video followed by case study examples. Again, please review Part 2 of the directives before starting this section.
The spiritual need of the patient is also very important because that also helps them in recovery process and going through the stress of being in a hospital, going through major surgeries and procedures. The spiritual care is hand in hand with high-tech medical care.
We're the people who listen to their life and their stories and what matters to them, their successes and failures, their hopes for what's remaining, and often help them to understand what the impact of this illness will be on their future.
So our initial effort is to make sure that they know we care about them. And from there, we listen to their stories. We're concerned about how they feel. We listen to whatever they are concerned about in their own spiritual lives or in their own denominations, and we pay attention to that. And I think that often people feel cared for because of that.
Part 2 of the Ethical and Religious Directives examines the pastoral and spiritual responsibility of Catholic healthcare organizations. It describes the whole person care that is the goal of the Church's healing ministry.
In Part 2 of the ERDs, really focuses on the human person in two ways. One, the dignity of the human person. It emphasizes that the fundamental dignity of the human person rests not in the person being a means to an end for market share, nor an object for research, nor even a customer to be satisfied, but the fundamental dignity of the human person rests in that person being a child of God. The second is that that person is whole, that we are serving not parts, but a person that has psychological, emotional, spiritual, and physical needs.
Like Jesus, the healing is not always the power of just making the body well. Sometimes it is the power of making the heart feel cared for.
The sacramental heritage of the Catholic Church is central to the life and care of the Catholic health ministry.
One of the most important parts of the work of pastoral care providers is making sure that the sacraments are made available to all the patients who enter our Catholic facilities. And sacraments from a Roman Catholic perspective is the real presence of God made manifest with the person through the sacrament, through the ministry of the Church, through the person of the priest who represents Christ and his ministry with the patient or with the family.
Highlighting the important role of pastoral, spiritual care, the directives emphasize the need for professional preparation of pastoral care personnel.
A professional chaplain who becomes board certified has to go through an extended training time, both educationally, graduate level work and beyond, as well as many, many hours of clinical training, clinical pastoral education training, where they've spent times in clinical settings, meeting with patients, as well as supervisory settings, to really have come to grips with what they're doing to provide the physician, the nurse, and the social worker with insights into this patient that really play a very, very vital role to the ultimate healing of this individual.
In Catholic healthcare, our focus is to make real the healing presence of Jesus, to help the individual who's struggling with what is the meaning of this cancer? Why is this happening to me? Why now? Why me? Asking those difficult and painful questions that really undermine the way he or she has made sense of his or her life. For many people, my faith has told me that if I live right, do right, pray right, everything will be okay. In the midst of illness, we discover life isn't that simple. It doesn't work that way. So there's a real effort to understand, where is God in this for me?
Directive 11 calls on pastoral care personnel to work in close collaboration with local parishes and community clergy. Cherishing the dignity of each human person, Catholic healthcare recognizes and respects the diversity of religious traditions among the people who come for care.
People come from so many different backgrounds, racially, gender, religiously. And when we find them in different backgrounds, what we try to do is what Jesus did, and that is meet people where they are. Whatever their concern is, that becomes our concern.
It is certainly the hospital's challenge to respect the cultural and religious diversity that is there, and to, in some ways, to help meet those cultural and religious needs. And yet, what's common to all of us is each of us has spiritual and emotional needs, no matter what our faith expression is or non-faith. But fundamental to the human person is that we have spiritual and emotional needs.
The ERDs are an invaluable resource as we understand how to appreciate the dignity and value of each person. They give us guidelines on how to care for the spirit, how to care for the person, how to make decisions about what is best for this human being. Will this treatment provide comfort, or will it prolong suffering? Will it provide burden or benefit? And helping the person then to make that evaluation and to decide, in light of who this human being is, what is important to him or her. They're an incredible gift to us.
In bringing to a close our discussion of Part 2 of the directives, I'd like to draw your attention to some of the key ideas in this section. The care provided to patients should respect their human dignity and should help them to experience their own dignity and value. This care should embrace the whole person: physical, psychological, social, spiritual. Catholic healthcare is not only about caring for the physical, it's committed to caring for the whole person. Pastoral care is an essential part of Catholic healthcare and tends to the spiritual nature and needs of the person, without which healing of the whole person is not possible.